let's talk about appeals and the process. And this just kind of should give you a decent idea of how things move through. And really it's a line. I mean, something could start at a justice of the peace or city court, move to state district, move to state supreme in Montana anyhow. There's no intermediary court in there, and then move to federal court, to a circuit court of appeals, and ultimately to the Supreme Court. That is a possibility. Of course, for something to go that far would be quite rare, but it does happen. I mean, you'll see some cases occasionally in the Supreme Court that do exactly that. So this is, just to give you an idea. So let's say you're in justice court. Maybe you go to small claims, right? And you lose, and you don't like the outcome. What can you do? You can take it to the state district court, and from what I understand or what I read is they talk about it being reheard at the state district court. So in that case, the appeals probably allow the attorneys or the individuals maybe to make vocal oral comments and whatnot and talk about it. So, and then the state district judge can make a ruling, and then it could go to the Montana Supreme Court, right? Supreme Court, so we get to the Supreme Court of the state of Montana. They reject your claim, you may appeal to, and then you'd go to the federal district court in Montana. So it'd be assigned to one of the judges, and they would rehear it. That's not a jury thing at that point in time. Okay, the judge would hear the case and make a ruling based on laws, right? Not the facts of the case, but based on the law. Was the law upheld? And make a decision. The chief federal district judge in Montana is known to his wife, kids, and friends as, for Montana, that person is Dana Christensen, Dana being a fella. And you can find that if you go to this particular link. It'll take you to the Montana U.S. government courts that are in Montana. And I talked about it a little bit in the other video. There's the Montana Supreme Court again. Now, I gave you the answer, though, to the question. It says, a jury in the 12th District Court for the state of Montana finds for your opponent. She says she'll appeal. Where would she appeal to? It would go to the Supreme Court. And again, you don't have a retrial. You would have arguments, oral arguments, and those would be presented in the evidence. All of that would be presented to the justices there, and then they would make a ruling based on those. From federal district court, Judge Christensen's court, you would appeal to. So if you didn't like the verdict there, or the result there, then you would appeal to, in this case, also known as the most liberal appellate court in the nation. In our case, that would, of course, be the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, headquartered in San Francisco. Kelo versus New London, Connecticut was appealed how far and to what court? You might have to do a little looking at this. It's actually a case that we're going to talk about later when we get to property rights and eminent domain. And in this case, Kelo versus New London was an eminent domain case where the state, I believe it was the state or it was the locality, local government wanted to condemn a property. Condemnation is a process. It doesn't mean the property was falling apart. It's just a process that they go through. They wanted to condemn it and sell it for economic development is what happened. And the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. New London, Connecticut was the locality, the town, and Kelo was the person whose property was involved. So it went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, and the opinion expressed by the court could continue. It was within New London, Connecticut's right to condemn that property and exercise eminent domain over that. So how many different courts are located in Havre, Montana? Man, we have too many, I would say. We have a city court, Justice of the Peace Court. City court covers Havre, right, for speeding in town, failing to stop at a stop sign in town, those types of things, drunk and disorderly, I suppose. The Justice of the Peace then handles cases within the county, probably outside of Havre for the most part. They do, if the city court judge goes on vacation or to a conference or something, the JP or the Justice Court judge would then probably hear some of those cases. They are, so we get State Court, Justice Court, and State District Court for the 12th District. Embezzling 20 grand in Havre will land you in what court? That becomes a felony, okay? And felonies are going to be handled in State District Court. JP and city courts are going to deal with misdemeanors. The name of the judge that's going to preside over your case at the 12th District is Judge Dan Boucher. Again, is also a wrestling referee. Does a lot of the matches up here at Northern. Yeah, this guy will probably end up in what court? You can click on that one. If it still works, I don't know. But it's kind of fun. What you're attempting to do is keep this drunk person upright as long as possible. You do that with your mouse, and you got to kind of make some adjustments to try to keep him upright as long as possible. It's tough. So public drunkenness is probably going to be a misdemeanor that's going to be heard in city court if it happened within the city limits of Havre. Justice Court is also known as the small claims court, right, where we would resolve disputes regarding, relatively small sums of money. I have to admit that when I look at some of the numbers on this, I get a little bit confused. Generally speaking, I'm sure it's anything under $3,000 can go to small claims court. I see different amounts for different things that show up in that, and I've even asked attorney. It's been a long time. I should ask again. Maybe I'll ask the judge. I went to college with her, So while practicing golf and drinking beer in his backyard, your neighbor shanks a shot, misses his practice net, and puts a top flight XL3000 through your bay window. Not only does the window break, the ball smashes a nearly priceless Ming vase valued at over $7,000. Your neighbor denies responsibility, attempting to avoid a citation for drunken driving. You'll have to sue your neighbor in what court? Okay. Well, we broke the bay window. The vase is expensive. I'm guessing this is above, this is above small claims court type of stuff. So we're probably going to have to go to state district court, right? Well, we will. Short the price of a pint, Al Bierman decides to try and rob a bank. Luckily, the bank president misses Al with his Glock 9mm handgun, and Al is merely arrested. Al will make his first court appearance in what court? This gets to be a little bit interesting. That goes to federal district court. And again, it's because banks are federally protected through the FDIC and or the Federal Reserve. And so they're basically entities that enjoy federal protection like that. The cases then would be resolved initially or tried initially in federal district court. My old boss used to keep a Glock, I think it was 9mm, in his desk, even though I think that's not legal. I'm not sure. We did things a little different in Havre. I remember we had customers all the time bringing guns in because they wanted to show them to us, or especially my boss. He kind of liked guns. So the recently, that was 2005 now, but anyhow, it requires certain class action lawsuits to be heard in what courts. Again, that becomes a federal district court was the ruling on that, so that plaintiffs in those cases can't shop around. So that's it. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how cases move through the court system.